When we hear people talk about who are the best rookies in the NHL and who will be competing for the Calder Trophy next season, we hear the same names mentioned the majority of the time: Elias Pettersson, Casey Mittelstadt, Rasmus Dahlin, Eli Tolvanen. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 players who I think are kind of dark horses and could surprise some people and really make a name for themselves next year and be competing for the Calder Trophy at the end of the season. First up is Kailer Yamamoto, drafted in the first round 22nd overall by the Edmonton Oilers in the 2017 NHL entry draft, and this is a guy who I think would be a perfect player to play on a line with Connor McDavid. And obviously, I think playing with Connor McDavid, he will rack up a good amount of assists, because when you pass Connor the puck, he's most likely going to set someone else up or get a goal. And players who I think that the Edmonton Oilers really need to match up with McDavid are fast players. I don't think guys like Jesse Puljujarvi and Milan Lucic are the right line mates to play with a guy of his speed, and I think Kailer Yamamoto, being as fast as he is and offensively gifted, I think if you were to play him on that top line with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and McDavid, that would just be a perfect line for the Edmonton Oilers, and they really would be able to wreak some havoc in the NHL next season. And Yamamoto was a guy who I really don't hear get talked about all that much when we're talking about who are going to be impact rookies next season. He played in the WHL and he put up some impressive numbers. In the 2016-17 season, he had 99 points. This is the season of his draft year, and I definitely think that in the WHL you don't get as much recognition as the Q or the OHL. I'm not sure why that is, but it seems it always goes like that. If you put up a good amount of points in the WHL, no one cares as much as they would if you were doing it in the Q or the OHL. But I really think Kailer Yamamoto has a really good shot to come in next year and surprise some people and have a legitimate chance at winning the Calder Trophy. Next up is Filip Zadina, drafted in the first round 6th overall by the Detroit Red Wings in this previous NHL draft, and I don't really know if many of you will consider him a dark horse, but I do, because I don't hear his name all that much, because most people are talking about Dahlin, Svechnikov, Mittelstadt, Pettersson, Tolvanen, and all of those guys, but I think Filip Zadina, playing in Detroit, where I definitely think he's going to be a full-time NHLer, and with his offensive capabilities, I think he's going to put up around 30 goals, especially if he's playing on that top power play unit, and I definitely think he could surprise some people. And Detroit players don't get talked about all that much, especially Detroit rookies, and like I said, this guy can come in under the radar, put up a really good amount of points, and if he can keep Detroit somewhat competitive and play some meaningful games towards the end of the season, then I definitely think Filip Zadina will get some serious consideration for the Calder Trophy next season. He played the 2017-18 season with the Halifax Mooseheads. I was very privileged to be able to watch him live multiple times, because I do live in Halifax. They're my local junior team, and I was very excited when Detroit drafted him just because I know how good this guy is. Watching him live, he made QMJHL defenders just look absolutely silly, so I definitely think he's going to have a lengthy and very good NHL career, and I think starting as soon as next season, he'll be an impact player in the NHL. Next up is Filip Chytil of the New York Rangers. He was their first round draft pick, 21st overall in 2017, and this is a guy who I think kind of gets overshadowed because the more notable rookie on the New York Rangers, you could argue, is Elias Anderson. But I really loved what I seen from Filip Chytil last season, and I really like what the New York Rangers did with him, playing him in the American Hockey League as just an 18-year-old, and in my opinion, he really thrived there. In 46 games played, he had 11 goals and 20 assists for 31 points, and in the 9 games he was called up with the New York Rangers, he had 1 goal and 2 assists, one of those goals coming as an overtime winner, and he really just is an exciting player to watch, and I think this is good for New York Rangers fans because it gives them something to really attach onto during this rebuild, and I definitely think he's going to be a fan favorite not only for New York fans, but for fans around the NHL just because of his play style and how exciting he is to watch, and I definitely think if he puts up a good amount of points and kind of takes the spotlight away from Elias Anderson, he could get some serious consideration for the Calder Trophy. The next player we're going to talk about is Miro Heiskanen, and this is a guy who Dallas Stars fans are really excited about, and rightfully so, because he's a guy who could come in and really be that game-changing piece that they need to finally be a really competitive team for a good amount of time. They have their number one defenseman in John Klingberg, but other than him, they don't really have someone who's a top pairing guy, and I think if Miro Heiskanen can come in as soon as next season, make an impact and bring this Dallas Stars team to the playoffs along with guys like Seguin, Jamie Benn, hopefully Valeri Nichushkin comes in and plays some very good hockey, and then obviously John Klingberg, and you get some good goaltending, this could be a really scary team. And if you have a rookie defenseman who comes in his first year, and that first year the team plays so well and finally gets over the hump and makes it into the playoffs and makes a deep run, you will definitely see him getting some Calder Trophy votes because he really could be the piece that they need. And the Calder Trophy sometimes isn't all about who puts up the most points, it's who is most important to their team. And I definitely think if Miro Heiskanen can put up a good amount of points but still be a top pairing shutdown guy, he will be certainly in Calder Trophy talks throughout the majority of next season. And the final player we're going to talk about in today's video is Ryan Donato, drafted by the Boston Bruins in the second round, 56th overall in 2014. He spent 3 seasons at Harvard University, and he had 43 points in his most previous season, and after his season ended, he came over and played for the Boston Bruins, and we really got a glimpse of what this guy is capable of at an NHL level. As in 12 NHL games, he had 5 goals and 4 assists for 9 points. And yes, he was on the bench throughout the majority of the playoffs, but I think that was a bad decision by the Bruins head coach because you could argue he's the piece they needed, and he could have been that spark plug in the Tampa Bay series to really get them over the hump. And I definitely think he's going to be used in a more pivotal role next season. And I definitely think Boston is still going to be a very solid team and definitely a top 3 team in the Atlantic Division. And if Ryan Donato can contribute to that, maybe play some top 6 minutes and change out for David Backes, because David Backes is getting up there in age. I'm not sure if he's capable of being a top 6 forward anymore, and bringing in a guy like Ryan Donato, who I think is very NHL ready. I mean, 3 seasons at Harvard, and he played very well in all of those. He definitely is just ready to be a full-time NHLer, and I definitely think if we could see him score around 60 to 70 points next season, he will be in some serious Calder Trophy talks when it's all said and done. So that is going to wrap up this video. I really hope you guys did enjoy, and make sure you let me know down in the comment section who you think are some dark horses who could really be in contention for the Calder Trophy next season. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.